What's going on? It's SFT back again with another video. This time we're going to be talking about the Jets. Aaron Rodgers officially out, not coming back next season, and his whatever time he had with the damn Jets is done. This failure of a project is done. Before we get into this video, please subscribe, like the damn video, and let's get into it. So when we talk about the Aaron Rodgers era with the New York Jets, it's been nothing but, at least for me, a perfect depiction of what the New York Jets has been under this owner. Complete failure, high expectations, real disappointments, consistent controversy, and just tragic failure. I really do feel bad for the fan base, you know? I did not have them too high at the beginning of the season. Going into the season, at least, I thought Aaron Rodgers come back. You know, they're not going to be as bad. They may push for the playoffs. Hopefully they can. They have very good defense, so they should. But before we get into this season, man, let's get into last season, how it looked and how it forecasted how this season would be. Last year, we talked about Aaron Rodgers tearing his ACL in the third snap, right? And then after that, they win a huge game against the Bills at home on the opening day, okay? I think it was Monday Night Football. Right after that, we get a really poor season, right? Which was expected, right? A really poor season, but we get some highlights, man. We get a defense that's playing absolutely lights out. We get an offense that is inept, absolutely, that has offensive line issues. However, you at least got to see what this roster looked like before Aaron Rodgers stepped foot inside of it in terms of this offensive line. Yes, quote unquote, cadence matters and things of that nature. It does matter. Look, it definitely helps blocking, right? However, this offensive line simply wasn't good enough. Too much injuries. The depth was questioned and challenged multiple times throughout the season, and they failed on it. This offensive line simply wasn't healthy enough to sustain a good year last year. And coming into this year, you expected far better with Aaron Rodgers. But I really thought that Zach Wilson leaving and being the scapegoat in my eyes, yes, he was poor with the Jets. However, he never had the talent around him. He definitely didn't have the offensive line in the run game that we were supposed to have. Got to get back to how the Jets looked like at the end of this last season. You know, they thought to themselves, you know what, we're going to get a veteran quarterback coming to the season, 4-time MVP, I believe, 1-time Super Bowl champion, and he's going to add a certain level of just maturity and definitely confidence in this offense that has lacked this so much. And with the defense playing at a high level, man, this defense was really playing good last year. We can expect for this offense to be decent, to never have to push the ball downfield, to never be in a poor position, right? They don't ever have to be catching up. This offense can be second to the defense at the end of the day because the defense has established themselves for, I would say, maybe the last 2 years, 2+ years, right? Really good defense overall, quality players all over. They added some more depth, but they should have seen the signs, man. Aaron Rodgers at the start of the season, him talking about not coming to training camp, and I don't know, he's soul searching, things of that nature, in dark rooms, just really weird things that he's looking for attention, and the lack of the maturity you expected from him, you're not getting from him. And the headlines were not about his play, but they were about his personality and the things he was doing off the field. And I personally didn't care too much about it, but I want to hear good things about you. So this Jets, at least these Jets fans have something good to think about, something to look forward to on this really tough and grimy schedule. But we saw how this year went. An absolute disappointment. We're going to start off with Aaron Rodgers. Really disappointing. Really poor year. We get to some of his earlier games against the San Francisco 49ers. Underwhelming in his first couple of snaps, you know. Look, I'll give him one thing. I thought a lot of the interceptions he ended up throwing this year were just tipped passes, man. Like, really poor receiving play. But you look at the game against the 49ers opening day and them losing it. They barely beat the Titans. They beat the brakes off the Patriots finally after years of losing to the Patriots, right? And I thought they're on the up. Absolutely not. Absolutely damn not. They get a crushing defeat to the Broncos 10-9 at home on a rainy day. And I heard the owner said something like, oh man, we need to bench this guy. This guy's garbage. We need to bench Aaron Rodgers. First of all, that as an owner, you shouldn't be talking like that. And this right here, to me, was one of the reasons why they lost. It was one of the reasons why they failed this season, man. These are one of the crushing losses they had on a good Denver Broncos team, yes, but they only put up 10 points and you lose the game. 9 field goals, a lot of fourth goals dropped. Simply, they just got no points out of it, and just an overall disappointing game. You get to the game in London against the Vikings, another disappointing game. A late game Aaron Rodgers interception, disappointing. I thought defensively the Jets were very good that game too, but you saw the Jets offense could not play complementary football. You go up against the Bills, you lose 23-20 in a game where your offense looked good. Defense couldn't get the stops it needed to get, but just not good enough. Another game not good enough. I believe that game was also the game where they threw at the half, they threw a Hail Mary touchdown, right? So only to score 20 points. Another one of the games where you look at it and say, not a good offensive game. You could have won that game, man. Your defense played good enough. And then we get into some of the more crushing defeats. 37-15 against the damn Steelers. I remember that game. Scoreless in the second half. Getting ran through in the absolute second half. Really disappointing, disgusting performance to me. Like, this performance showed me this is the same Jets team that they were last year. Poor leadership. Players not showing up to play for the badge, to play for the team, to play for your coaches, to play for each other. What the hell was I watching that? I think it was a Sunday night game. Really disappointing. Jets versus Patriots season was killed after that. When you lose to the damn Patriots, a struggling team, right? Who I believe that was Drake May's, maybe it was his first start? I think that was his first start that he got. He ended up coming into the game. Something of that nature. I don't know. I'm actually going to check right now if it was his first start. Drake May played maybe a couple of snaps and then he got out the game injured. But just really, really, really disappointing, man. That game too, they lost in crushing fashion. 4th and goal. No, not 4th and goal, but they just missed a touchdown throw, and the damn Patriots got a game-winning touchdown on them. Just another game of disappointment. But you get a major win against the Texans, 21-13. At least it's somewhat not salvage the season because people already have understanding it's done. But against not a poor Texans offensive line where your defense looks absolutely dominant. Again, a lot of these games, their defense doesn't look bad. Outside of the Steelers, they don't look bad, bro. They're not giving up more than 27 points a game. No, they're not. They're giving up more than 24 points a game twice with the Patriots, right? And then you get the Jets versus Cardinals. I won't forget that game. Like 31-6, actually beat down. Aaron Rodgers, another poor game, stacking up bad games on bad games. And their defense just getting the ball run through their chest. I think they had 250 yards rushing, the Cardinals. Really disappointing. I think it was a whole debacle with Sauce Gardner not making tackles, the head coach having to go into the next game's training. Their head coach having to go into the next game's training session, showing how to tackle, and he took that personally because he was like, I know how to tackle. Yes, but you're not making tackles out there. Your whole team's not making tackles out there. You guys are playing soft. You guys are playing really soft, man, and that was this consistent L's you're taking throughout the season that they have no business taking. They go to the next game. They look against the Colts, right? Oh my god, they lose to Anthony Richardson, make him look elite. They made him look elite that game, right? In 28-27, made him look lights out. Another showing you're making you're making average to underwhelming players look great. You start off the first quarter getting I think one first down, man. Struggling, getting 3 and outs consistently in the first quarter. Offensively playing poor. What the hell was I watching that game, man? I watched that game because I was interested in that. Seahawks versus Jets. Obviously, Jets lose that game too. Aaron Rodgers stinking up the place, throwing that pick six at home. Poor. Then we get Dolphins. They lost against the Dolphins in Miami. Then Jets versus Jaguars. They beat the damn Jaguars. Congratulations, 32-25. Didn't look too bad. Rams, they lose in disappointing fashion, 19-9. Didn't even play good offensively for the Rams at least, but they still beat the poor Jets offense. And then the Bills, they get blown out 40-14, and they beat my Dolphins, and then they beat my Dolphins at the end of the year. Okay, overall, crushing defeats, disappointing losses, poor offensive performances. Aaron Rodgers looking confused. I hated his interviews, his post-game interviews, man. They were so bad. He was just pointing blame to other players, pointing game to other position groups. The lack of maturity, accountability. When you play in the Big Apple, it's different. I mean, they're not playing in the Big Apple. They're playing in New Jersey, but when you play around that area, it's different. The expectations are different. There's pretty damn big expectations for you. And he was not ready for that. He was not ready to live up to it. He just wanted an easy paycheck in a big market to move to. That's it. That's all he wanted to do. Going into the season, people had an expectation that they would potentially compete for the AFC East and get into the playoffs for sure. With how good that defense looked, with how much they added to that offense, they got his guys in. They expected him to take them, man. To not look like this. Yes, you had a tough schedule. But damn, you're telling me games against the Patriots aren't confirmed. Against the Dolphins, my Dolphins team is not that good. It's not aren't confirmed. We never beat any competent teams. But against you guys, we show up. That's not a good sign, man. You lose to the Rams, which now, I mean, early on in the season, they weren't playing good, right? Now, they lost later on, so they start to pick up a little bit of form. You lost to the Steelers. You see how the Steelers crashed out towards the end of the season. They made them look elite, by the way. Oh my God, I won't forget. Russell Wilson, that was his first game he started on Sunday Night Football against the bummy Jets. Because their head coach looked and said, who else will we start our quarterback who has never played the entire season against? Except for the Jets. We have such little respect for your team. You know what? We're going to start him against you guys. We're going to start him against you guys. What? We're not worried about you guys. Disrespect is on another level, man. Couldn't make the playoffs, obviously. Couldn't compete for the AFC East, obviously. And a complete breakdown, man. Owners coming out. Owner coming out making statements. GM getting fired. Rumors coming out that owners looking at Madden player numbers, or his son's telling him about Madden player numbers, and he vetoed certain trades because he didn't like the Madden rating of certain players. But what are we talking about, man? This organization is a shambles. Absolute shambles. And Aaron Rodgers, man. Aaron goddamn Rodgers. It's about time. All these Pat McAfee interviews, all these poor post-game press conferences, all this moaning and sulking on the sidelines. We're done with it. It's time to move on, man. You're washed. You're washed, man. I think he should just retire. It's really disappointing for me to see somebody who I think was the most talented quarterback of this gen. Like, when we talk about talent, I'm thinking about a guy, at least in this new generation, right? I can put up there with the Joe Burrows. He would easily be a top 4 quarterback in this current generation. I can put him up there with the Josh Allens, and I'm looking at a guy like him, man, go out like this, you know? I'm looking at a guy, one of the superstars of our 10 years ago, go out like this, man. So disappointing. We expected him to be those senior, older quarterbacks that could potentially change a franchise and show that they're able to take that next step of being the franchise. Like the Peyton Mannings, like the Tom Brady's, he has not been able to do that. He lacks the maturity. You used to see Tom Brady, Peyton Manning truly represent what it means to be a GM, the starting quarterback, the head coach of a team. Like, they looked like they had massive control of a team. You saw how Peyton Manning looked at the Denver Broncos. He was damn near having team meetings by himself. And you look at Aaron Rodgers, man, moaning, crying on the sidelines, man. Always looks upset. Always looks like he's gonna kill himself. Just so disappointing, man. This guy, I had such higher expectations for him, man. Just disappointment, because I had such high expectations for him coming into his Jets time. I had high expectations from him the last couple of years with the Green Bay Packers. I always thought that, like, if you look at some of their games that they lost, right, against Tampa Bay, for example, not going for it on 4th down to tie the game, but kicking a field goal, right, to get a 4-point game. I couldn't believe that. I looked at a lot of those games, losing to San Francisco, right, missing 2 crucial field goals and losing that game. I didn't look at him and think to myself, Aaron Rodgers didn't play good enough. No, I thought to myself, this team needs to show up more. They move on from him. Yes, they pick up Jordan Love, and now, you know, they're pretty much the same thing without him. Getting bounced on the divisional rounds. Is he special? I don't know. Aaron Rodgers, man, this is killing your legacy. This time right here absolutely destroyed your legacy, man. I'm just so disappointed in the maturity, the lack of maturity he showed, you know. And the contracts they're giving to him, telling him, yo, if you want to come back, you can't be on Pat McAfee's. They're talking to him like he's a little kid. They're talking to him like he's a child, man. You can't be on the Pat McAfee. You can't do this. You can't go on. You have to come back at a certain time. You have to go to team meetings, and you have to go to training camp. The way they're talking to him like he's a kid. What? It's like, I don't think I've heard. Look, it reminds me of the Kyler Murray contract where they say you play too much video games. The lack of respect. Yes, look, you should get called out if you're not doing your job as a quarterback. But man, it's such an embarrassing look. And it's such a good idea for Aaron Glenn to move on from him. Now he's their new head coach. Do I have big expectations for them? No, but I expect them to rally behind him. I expect him to build a culture within this organization and to differentiate and to divide owner to coach and players, man. Owners need to stay away from coaching decisions, vetoing stuff like that. They need to know their place, man. We just seen the Dallas Mavericks owner want to trade Luka Doncic because they didn't want to commit to him and his supermax deal, right? Sometimes as a GM, you just gotta say, man, what are you talking about? This is the top 3 player in the league. Like, we might never get a player as good as him ever. In the draft, definitely. We're lucky we hit the absolute nail with this one. And you're going to move on from the greatest player that potentially played for our organization. The most talented, definitely. He just needs to win one championship and he's the greatest player. 5 first-team All-Pros, come on, man. 5 first-team All-NBAs, come on, man. There's certain things that as a GM, you need to just separate your owners from. You have no business talking about basketball. Yes, you're going to get fired, but you got to understand and you got to size up some of these owners, because the owner, I believe his name is, because the owner for the Jets needs to understand he needs to be hands off of this new Aaron Glenn run team, and he needs to know his place. The same way you watch the Philadelphia Eagles owner know his place, and you watch a lot of successful owners just not be close to the situation. Like, this guy's pushing Jerry Jones status, man. I don't want to waste my time talking anymore about the owner, but I have big expectations coming to the season for the Jets. Not big expectations in terms of them making a playoff run, but I think that they can bounce back a little bit. I think that this new coach, I have really high expectations to Aaron Glenn. I think he's going to be very good as a head coach of this team, and he's inheriting a good defense overall. Yes, I understood they broke down, but they only really broke down when their head coach left, and there was nothing to play for. I think this guy can get some new juice out of them. They have some really good players still on their team. Certain guys leaving, like DJ Reed. It is what it is. If you ever saw what he said, I'm going to test out free agency. I'm out. He can't do the Jets no more. Right, but you're going to see if you can bring him back, need a contract with him. Sauce Gardner is going to need to get paid in a bit, right? You're going to have certain guys that want to get paid, but you bring in a new coach, let him sit down with your players, get some belief in them, and get them working. Look, if they can finish the season with a positive record, that's a successful season. But outside of that, thank you so much for watching this video. Subscribe, take care, peace.